Disclaimer: the following content is entirely fictional and does not represent real events or people. This material has been edited and adapted from the channel Romance Reverie. Alpha. We found someone at the north border of our territory. She is a rogue, but not actually a rogue. I could still sense a pack bond within her. What should we do? Beta Cole asked Alpha Caden through MindLink. Caden rubbed his eyes. He already had enough trouble on his plate. Now these stupid rogues. He was angry and wanted to rip the rogue's head off. He was stuck with these alpha duties because his older brother Ryder decided to leave the pack to live a peaceful life with his family after first 2 years. So it came to Caden as he had the alpha blood as well. Not that Caden was sad, but with the search missions, it became too stressful for him. All he wanted was to find Maya. His love. His heart. It was almost a year since she was gone and he still couldn't find her. Alpha, Beta Cole said again, and Caden came back to the reality. Bring the rogue to dungeons. He snarled in the MindLink. Yes. Alpha. Cole cut the MindLink shortly and interrogated the girl standing in front of him. Her blue eyes held fear. She was anxiously looking at everyone. Let's go. Cole led her towards Pack House and she followed behind him like a loyal puppy. That's what she was taught to be. Caden was already frustrated and it turned into fury as soon as he heard about a rogue on his land. He stalked towards dungeons to deal with the fucking rogue. He wanted to snap the rogue's head. Maybe it would have helped him with his rising temper, but as soon as he entered, the smell hit him like a truck. Mate. His wolf surfaced. This was the moment Caden dreaded in his entire life. Annie's breath caught in her throat as she smelled that intoxicating smell. Her wolf perked up and she knew her hell was over. She finally found her solace. A small smile crept on her lips, unknowing to what was going to happen next. Her smile faltered when she saw the cold expressions in the alpha's eyes. No sign of recognition at all. What's your name? Rogue, he sneered. Annie chalked on her breath as she opened her mouth to answer, but not a single word came out. She trailed her eyes to ground, not answering him. It agitated Caden more as he growled loudly. His wolf was whimpering inside of him, but the human was too stubborn to recognize that. Question her, and if she is not ready to answer, kill her. As also have stated as Mustard. Annie's wide eyes snapped towards her mate, who unknowingly rejected her. Tears rolled down her eyes. Caden's heart clenched, looking at his destined mate, but he already had his chosen one, and he wasn't going to complicate the situation. He knew Maya was alive somewhere, and he was willing to do everything to find her. Why? Annie muttered to herself as she fell on her knees, hugging herself, but Caden heard it. Even his Beta did, but Caden chose to ignore it and left the room. Beta Cole understood the situation. He knew his best friend and his love for Maya, but he felt bad for the girl sitting in front of him. Clutching her heart. He knew it was painful for her. Slowly he walked towards her. Kill me, Annie whispered, and Cole's eyes went wide as he shook his head. Not knowing what to do, he mind-linked Charlotte, Caden's twin sister. Please, Annie begged again. I can't do it. You are my Luna. I can't kill you. Quote. Annie gasped and looked at him. She was shocked to find that Beta knew what happened. It's an alpha's order. Do it, please. She begged again. I'm sorry. I know Caden. He has his reasons. He doesn't want to kill you. It's complicated. I love it, Caden. Her wolf whimpered when she heard his name. She didn't say anything, just lied down on the dirty floor, curling into a ball. Tears didn't stop. She couldn't believe her destiny. She was rejected by her family, her pack, and now by her mate, her only hope. Caden was furious. Why he was feeling an attraction towards that rogue. He was going crazy. She was nothing. She was just some girl who wanted power. He convinced himself. His wolf opposed, but he neglected him. His anger was rising and in a fit. He turned the table upside down. "What the fuck are you thinking? You nearly killed her." A voice of his twin sister made him glare at her. "It's none of your business, and no one dies because of a mere rejection," Caden answered coldly. Charlotte gasped. Her brother had truly turned into a monster. He was so blinded by the love for his girlfriend so much that he couldn't see what was in front of him. "You ordered to kill her. I is very fine respecious, and walking now tend haired. Yeah. I don't want a mate. I don't care what happens to her. Azar." Charlotte covered her mouth with her hand. What was happening? She sat on one of the chair to hold herself together. "You know what rejection did to Mom. You know how she lost everything. You know how much it cost Dad to gain her trust back. You know everything. Then why? What is not of wrath? Because I would never love her," Caden yelled. "I have given my heart to Maya. She is my chosen. As expected and terrified in the wrong. So you are going to kill your destined mate. Just like that. And Telve." Char's broken voice made Caden's heart clenched, but he controlled his emotions. "Then don't kill her, but I want her gone." Carradine did. "No. She is not going anywhere. She is Luna of this pack, and she stays here with all of us. And everyone. She is not my fucking Luna. She is nothing," Caden screamed in Char's face. Charlotte took few steps back, shaking her head. "Mom and Dad raised you better than this," she whispered and turned around to walk away, but gasped loudly. There stood Annie with Cole, who was standing behind her, holding her shoulders to keep her stable. She didn't make a sound as slowly she turned around, looking at Cole. "Can I go? I need to be alone," she stuttered and her voice cracked. She was trying everything to control it and not cry in front of him. Her heartless mate. Cole wanted to shake his head, but he nodded, knowing she deserved the privacy. Annie walked out of Caden's office. She didn't know where she was going, but just kept walking, stumbling at some point. Vision was blurred, and her heart was crumbled into pieces. Soon she was out of the house and in the middle of the forest, and that's where she broke down. She couldn't hold it in anymore. She just let it all out. She cried for everything. Life is cruel, isn't it? Her father made her suffer for things she didn't do. Her own siblings hated her for something she hid for their own sake. Her favorite uncles and cousins pushed her away, not caring about anything. She was just keeping a secret so no one would get hurt, but everything was turned into 180-degree. Even after getting away from that daily torture, she was hoping for a happy life. A life with her mate and later a family. Her own family where everyone would love her, care for her. But you don't find everything that you want. Right. Sometimes, you don't get anything that you desire. Annie was one of those unfortunate souls. She was destined to live alone. Annie stayed lying on the forest ground for few hours. She was numb after hearing everything that Alpha Caden said. She was gonna die. She knew it for sure, but before that she wanted to see something that would give her immense pleasure. Her mate's happiness. Even though he didn't want her. She wanted to see him happy. She knew what was going to happen in the end. So that was her wish now. She decided to stay in the pack for a few weeks till her mate found everything. Then she would leave happily. Slowly she sat up in her place and looked up towards sky. She gently wiped her tears when she felt a presence behind her. "Luna," Cole said hesitantly. "Annie. My name is Annie." Quote, "Annie," Cole stated softly as he sat beside her. "Are you okay?" "I won't least." Annie looked taken aback by the honesty and sincerity that he showed towards her. She had nearly forgotten about kindness. She composed herself and looked at him with a small smile. "If I say yes." Will you believe me? Ended my like to date. Cole shook his head. Will you tell me everything about your alpha? Annie asked him hesitantly. Cole nodded and turned towards her. In return, will you tell me, why did you run away from you old pack? Are stained. Annie thought about it for a few minutes, but a part of her told to trust the guy sitting in front of her. He showed her something she was deprived of for all those years. Kindness. Maybe. She would have made her first real friend. So she nodded. Cole smiled at her and started. Caden is second born of Alpha Mason and Luna Genevieve. After Ryder, his older brother decided to give up Alpha title. Cade stepped up. He wasn't always this cold and vicious. It's just after his lover left him. Annie completed his sentence. It hurt her, but it was the truth. Cole nodded sadly. Maya. Her name was Maya. She was Cade's best friend, and they fell for each other. Cade promised her that no matter what happened, he would always be by her side. But last year, her mate showed up and took her away. He was abusive towards her, and Cade thinks that Maya was pregnant with his baby before her bastard mate took her away. I won't maybe self-favored of the prisonic devented. Annie's heart clenched painfully, knowing possibly her mate has a baby with another woman. Her hands were shivering due to the fact. Cole noticed that and took her hands in his, rubbing it softly. I know it hurts, but please. Annie shook her head, trying her best to control tears, and she succeeded. I will help in finding her. She breathed out, and Cole's eyes went wide. He turned towards her with shock evident in his eyes. Why would you do that? Also, Annie smiled sadly to herself. I realized one thing. We are broken. We both are. He doesn't want me. I know, but at least one of us deserves a happy ending. And maybe he will have his. Terror and his wreckings, he said. Cole sighed. He couldn't believe Cade was graced with such a kind-hearted and innocent mate that she wasn't even caring for herself. He felt bad for Annie as he smiled at her. You are selfless. You are kind. And case is content to spend. And then he asked one question that was puzzling him. What happened in your old pack? Why did you run away? Stand. Annie's breath hitched in her throat as she started fidgeting with her shirt. Beta. But he cut her off. Cole. It's Cole. Annie nodded. She took her time, but then started. Do you promise me that you won't tell anyone? No matter what happens. You won't. Cole nodded. Annie took a deep breath and said, I'm Annie Ryan. Alpha Ryan's youngest daughter. Connet. Cole's eyes went wide with the recognition. He had heard about Alpha Ryan. He was strict and cold-hearted, and in an alliance with Cade's pack. He remembered once he with Cade went to his territory to discuss and met his children. He recognized the shy girl who was behind everyone with her head facing downwards when everyone was giving her disapproving looks was Annie. Yes. I remember you and Alpha Caden. That's why I came here. My wolf led me here. As a likes to scented from the steams with though precedent. Why? What happened? En relay. They abused me. They hated me. I wasn't worthy of Alpha's blood. I was just a servant. All because I kept something secret to save everyone from heartbreak. Seta I did for wise are made. Annie's tears rolled down her cheeks, but she continued. My dad. He was overpossessive and sometimes in a fit of rage would hit Mom. Mom was fed up with his attitude, but then she met someone. He wasn't a part of our pack. They started seeing each other and then fell in love. That day, they decided to leave, so she decided to fake her own death. But unfortunately, I was there when she was about to cross the borders. She had splattered her blood on the ground. So when you would see it, you would think that she is dead. She told me everything. How she had to leave us behind. She had to escape. I was just 10. I nodded and promised her I won't tell anyone in my pack. Then she left. That was the last time I saw her. When I came home, I was covered in Mom's fake blood, and that's when everything changed. They all thought that I killed her and hid her body. They tortured me. Abused me, but I kept my word. I didn't tell them. Annie sobbed. Cole felt so bad for the girl sitting in front of him as he rushed forward and pulled her in his embrace. If I had told them, they would feel betrayed. The pain of mate's betrayal is the worst thing that could ever happen to someone, so I saved them from the heartbreak. And quite tourished into the slider feed. But your dad didn't feel anything. Cole couldn't help but asked. Mom broke the bond with the help of some witch. Have to have tractive. That makes sense. Cole rubbed her back. They will find me again, and when they will, they will kill me, Annie stated softly, closing her eyes tightly. They won't. We will protect you, and if it comes to that, you will tell them the truth. And fact is no... I can't. I would never. Annie shook her head. Annie, all descent of the first act stinton you. Don't. Just don't. She pulled away from him. You are the first person who made me feel cared. Thank you. I did another slow since present if to do. Don't thank me. Come on. Let's go. Caden was angry with everyone and mostly himself. He gave Cole permission to let her stay in the pack. He didn't want complications, and he knew with a mate involved, it was bound to happen. His wolf was snarling at him and pushing him to go to his mate, but Cade was stubborn too. How was he supposed to love his mate when he was already in love with another? He was trying his best to find Maya and her child. He had an intuition that she was pregnant, but every time he thought about this, his wolf would growl, opposing the idea. His wolf was adamant on not accepting another female as his mate, but his human was already in love with someone else other than his mate. It had been a whole week since Annie entered the pack. Slowly, she mingled with everyone. Nobody knew who she was. They just accepted her because Cole was protecting her like she was his family. Cole was assigned with the task of finding Maya, and now Annie was helping him. Every time she would try to decipher his information, he felt her despair. She was helping in finding her mate's happiness. That's what you do when you love someone unconditionally. Right. You would even kill yourself for that someone, and she believed in such love. Her love was selfless, kind, and without any demand. Maybe there was one wish, one motive that her mate would at least acknowledge her, but Cade never did. He would always ignore her whenever she was around. He would stop eating if he came to know that the food was made by his unwanted mate, even though other pack members loved it when she cooked for them. She was growing on everyone's heart, and deep down, somewhere Cade knew his heart was one of them. He watched her from afar when she would help people from the pack, play with children, and sometimes laugh with Cole. He would feel jealousy every time she was near his beta, but the stubborn alpha never cracked. Initially, Charlotte had given him hell, threatening him to inform his mother about what he was doing, but then suddenly she stopped. Cade was confused with this behavior. But he didn't know one thing, that Annie talked her out of it. They became good friends, even if her mate rejected her. A part of Annie was happy to have people who treated her equal, like she mattered. Annie. Charlotte entered Cole's office looking for Annie, and sure she was there with him where Cole was standing like he was shocked with some discovery, while Annie had small, sad smile on her plum lips. What's going on? Char walked inside. Maybe we found her. We found Maya, Cole whispered. Char's eyes went wide as she looked at Annie. Annie's heart clenched, not because her mate was free to reject her, but because her time was up and now she had to leave the place. Cole left the room, probably to inform his alpha. After all, his alpha meant everything to him. His pack had always showed so much respect towards their old alpha and Luna. He was supposed to follow the legacy. Char slowly walked towards Annie and put her hand on her shoulder. Why? Char whispered. Why are you doing this? A small tear left her eye. Annie gave her a watery smile. He deserves to be happy. Ender disagreed. What about you? What will happen to you now? Char was not ready to let her friend go. It was hurting her to see Annie sad. She had heard Annie's cries due to pain in the night. She knew Annie was so much in pain, but she couldn't help her. I will leave. I have to. You will be okay. Annie hugged her, letting out her warm tears. Char sobbed in her embrace. It was heartbreaking. The pain was too much to endure. They both fell asleep in Cole's office due to exhaustion and crying. But Annie woke up when Cole entered looking frantic. Annie. He cupped her face. His hands were trembling and eyes had fear present in them. What happened? Cole. She whispered, knowing whatever he wanted to tell her wasn't good. They found you. Alpha Ryan is sending few people to get you. As together. Annie's breath hitched in her throat as she gazed up at Cole with tears falling from her eyes. Is Alpha Caden? She couldn't even finish her sentence, but Cole nodded. He agreed to hand you over. Anyone of hand. Back to then. Annie closed her eyes tightly. Sobs wanted to burst out of her. What was she thinking? That maybe Alpha Caden would like to hear her side of story. Maybe he would let her stay. But we have 2 days till he comes here, and I have a plan. I want you to stay here with Char. Please, don't do anything, just stay here. I need to go somewhere, Cole said. Annie's eyes furrowed as she looked up at him. Where are you going? And well est these means. Just do as I'm saying. Anne. I will find a way. I promise. He kissed her forehead and left the office hastily. Annie was shaken as she sat down on the chair. Maybe the end was near. Maybe it was bound to happen. Next day, everything was different. Pack members were talking in hushed voices about an old pack member coming back. Maya. Caden's Maya was coming back with a baby boy. Cade was happy, but a part of him was hollow, like he wasn't really feeling the happiness to his bones. Was it because of the girl who was living under his roof? When Alpha Ryan called, his wolf growled, but the human was happy to get rid of a murderer. He believed everything that Alpha Ryan said. Why would someone run away from their own pack? Of course, she did something horrible and came here. He was convinced. He was sure of one thing, that he wanted his unwanted murderer mate to leave him alone. Annie watched as Maya entered the pack house and ran into Caden's arms. Few tears rolled down her eyes when she saw Caden's breathtaking smile as he looked down at his chosen with so much adoration and love. Swiftly, she wiped her tears away and smiled sadly at them. Maybe her mate, or now more specifically ex-mate, was happy. That meant only one thing. She had to leave now. The last strand of hope was gone, and she realized it was the time to move on, which was only possible if death embraced her. She hugged herself tightly and pulled away from the window. Her mind went back to Cole, who was gone for more than 10 hours by now, and she was waiting for him to come back. She couldn't leave without saying her goodbye to her first friend. Caden could feel a soft gaze on him and his chosen, and knew it was her. Annie. The girl who was giving him hell without doing anything. He looked down at Maya and her child. Yes. Her child. The baby girl she had wasn't Caden's. He knew as soon as she entered, because his wolf and they didn't feel any connection with the baby. Where were you? Why didn't you contact me? Did he hurt you? Caden cupped Maya's face, concern dripping through his voice. Maya shook her head. He changed. Cade. Initially he was violent, but when he came to know about baby, he changed. That's why he took me away. First few days were hard, but we made it through. Maya's voice held longing. You fell for him. Caden realized as his heart dropped. It was supposed to happen. Cade. Mate bond is stronger than anything. Maya smiled sadly at him. She was hurt after her mate's Michael's accident. Their little girl Rosie lost her father. When she got Caden's call, she knew maybe Moon Goddess gave her second chance. Even though Michael was her mate, Caden was her best friend. Her first kiss. First love, and everything. But he is gone now. Caden's thoughts were twisted. You need me. It's not founded at sane. I know. Cade. I need you because I love you. I can't live alone. I can't do this alone. Maya smiled at him through glassy eyes. That's all Caden needed as he embraced her in his strong hold, unaware of his destined mate who was feeling excruciating pain. It was evening now and Annie hadn't left her room. She didn't want to face anyone. She didn't want anyone to know that she was hurting. She even asked Charlotte to leave her alone for a few hours. The only person she was waiting for was Cole because she had to leave. Next day, Alpha Ryan would come and take her. She had to flee before that. She couldn't keep it in her anymore. But her train of thoughts was broken when somebody pounded on her door. She got up slowly and opened the door. A warrior names. Elliot was standing there. Alpha has asked you to come down. There are some people who need to see you. He looked scared a bit, and that's when Annie's heartbeats increased. They were here. They were early. Now she couldn't escape. She had to face everyone. She hoped that Cole was here to support her, to tell her that he wouldn't let them hurt her, but, as usual, her wish had no meanings now. But she stumbled back when Charlotte hugged her tightly, sniffling in her neck. They are talking nonsense. Annie. Caden is giving you away. She cried. Annie wanted to cry as well, but she held herself, controlled her emotions, and pulled away from Char. I don't know what to say, but believe me. I haven't done anything wrong. I can't tell you anything. Maybe Cole would tell you someday, but I can't. Maybe this is goodbye. Char. You cared for me. Showed me how it feels to be loved after so many barren years. Thank you for giving me those moments. Don't worry about me. I will be okay. Just move on with your life. I hope your mate would make you the happiest. I love you. Char. You are beautiful. Strong. Don't let anyone drag you down. Bye. Any one of the case. And Annie left her there. Char fell on the ground, sobbing loudly. With a pounding heart, Annie walked downstairs to see Caden was standing there with furious expressions. His chosen Maya by his side. She looked confused due to new arrival. Annie took a deep breath and faced forward to see her father standing there glaring at her. You little bitch. He yelled and stalked towards Annie's small petite figure with malice present in his eyes. Cade's wolf was trying to crawl out, but Cade blocked him. Alpha Ryan wrapped his hand around Annie's neck and pushed her hard in the wall. Annie gasped for breath as she struggled. Maya tightened her grip around Caden's hand, but Caden didn't even blink. How? How can a mate be so merciless that he didn't care about his other half? Stop it. Stop it. Please. Are you will say friended? Charlotte entered the room, looking at them wildly. Leave her. You bastard. She yelled. But one of the warriors held her back. Alpha Ryan looked amused as he looked between Char and Annie. He threw Annie on the ground and laughed humorlessly. You made a friend. Wow. That's new, and that's too Alpha's daughter. He chuckled, but then he turned toward Charlotte. Do you know what she has done? She killed her own mother. My mate, and she was running away from her punishments. But now I will kill her slowly. I'm going to make her feel all the pain she deserves. As Attilani had. Everyone was stunned. Nobody could believe the Alpha as he accused his youngest child of murder. The innocent Annie braced herself from everyone's hatred because she knew it was inevitable. She looked at Caden, but he was glaring in distance, most probably asking Moon Goddess why she granted him a mate like her. All pack members were watching from distance as most of them knew she was innocent. How can a selfless girl do this? But no one could speak in front of their alpha. Take her. We are going back. Alpha Ryan spat and turned towards Caden. Thank you, Alpha, for your cooperation. Eve teared to down. Some guards from her old pack grabbed her hand and started pulling her away, but Caden's voice stopped everyone. Stop. No thing. Annie's head jerked towards him. Was he rethinking his decision? Was he... But remaining hopes went flying out the door when those words came out of Caden's mouth. Caden King reject you. Annie Ryan as my mate and Luna of this pack. I want us time to stage the Dobton an example to get us tame. Everyone let out audible gasps as their eyes wavered between Annie and Caden. Annie's head hung low as she let out tears. Her heart was shattered into millions of pieces. She couldn't believe this was happening. At that moment, all she wanted was to die. The pain was too much to endure. She looked up at her father and she knew maybe Moon Goddess had given her one thing she needed most. Soon she would be long gone. She wouldn't feel anything. She would sleep peacefully forever, and maybe that's when everyone will be happy. Annie felt numb as she let them drag her outside. Her heart squeezed as she heard Charlotte's screams, but she knew Char will move on eventually. Their friendship gifted them hardly 2 weeks together, but they were beautiful. She felt at peace when she remembered Cole and Charlotte. She looked up at the sky and smiled sadly, praying Moon Goddess to give them all the happiness they deserved. It had been 12 hours since they took Annie away. Caden didn't want to talk to anyone as he walked away to find some alone time to think over what happened. The time he returned, Charlotte was curled up in a small ball, still crying her eyes out. Caden couldn't take it anymore and walked towards his twin. Char. He pulled her closer, but Char couldn't even bear to stand beside him as she pushed him away from her and hugged herself tightly. Get lost. You monster. She yelled at him, tears rolling down her eyes. Caden was shocked for the amount of hatred her voice held. Charlotte. He tried again, but she shook her head. You are a monster. A selfish monster. She helped in finding your chosen, and you sent her back to her hell. Char sneered at him. Caden was confused when he heard about his chosen, and he looked at her for answers, but before he could question her, Cole's voice rung through the door. Where is Annie? She doesn't have to go now. And every into the came. He looked so happy as he looked around for Annie, but then his gaze settled on Charlotte's tears-stricken face, and his heart skipped a beat, but he didn't want to assume worse. Char, for the first time from last night, felt solace as she ran towards Cole, hugging him tighter. She started sobbing in his chest. What's going on? Why are you crying? Where is Anne? He looked up at Caden, who for the first time looked guilty. God damn it. Tell me, where is she? Cole yelled loudly. All the pack members surrounded them, including Maya, who was sniffling in her hanky. She felt so hurt and bad when she realized what Cade did. He rejected his own mate for her. She was so heartbroken when she found out and tried to confront him, but he left without answering. She told Caden that he wasn't the one she fell in love with. He changed into some different person because the Caden she knew would have never done such a horrible thing. He sent her away. With those men, her old pack, they hurt her. Cole, they fucking hurt her. Charlotte cried loudly while explaining. Cole's hands dropped by his side as he looked at his alpha, who was watching them with no expressions. Cole stepped back as few tears rolled down his eyes, and he said, You broke her. You fucking broke her. They will kill her. Everybody after Flast. Caden's wolf didn't like the disrespect, and he growled, but his human said, She murdered her own mother. All netter. Cole shook his head. How can you believe them? How? She was the most innocent and pure person I have ever seen. She didn't kill her mother. She was just saving everyone from heartbreak. But no, you were so blindly in love with your chosen. You didn't even see the pain that was present in the eyes of your destined. If she was mine, I would have treasured her, cherished her, and made sure that she would get all happiness she deserved, but you hurt her. R said. Beta Cole. An elderly woman entered the pack house as she took in the entire scene that was being unfolded, but then she turned towards Cole and asked, "Where is my daughter? Where is Annie?" "Say there, Aladdin." Everyone gasped loudly and looked at her with wide eyes. Caden was shocked, and his face reflected the emotion as well. "What's happening? Please tell me that my baby girl is safe," Annie's mother cried. Hesitantly, Cole explained everything, and she fell on the ground. He told about Annie's abuse and everything she went through. Caden felt so guilty that he wanted to run towards Alpha Ryan's pack to get his mate back, but before that he had to hear everything. "I should have never left. If I knew they were going to hurt her and blame her, I would have never left. My Annie doesn't deserve what they did to her. She was always kind and soft-hearted, and often people mistaken it for her weakness. She was never weak. She just connected with people on every platform. A true Luna." She wiped her face and looked at Cole. They always treated her like a black sheep of the pack, but she never complained. Always tried to forgive them. She always wanted to meet her mate. She used to talk about it, how she was going to take care of everyone, love and protect her whole family, but my baby was so unfortunate. I can't believe Alaric would do that. She was his princess. He loved her so much. Cole walked towards the woman and hugged her gently. "I shouldn't have left, but I was in love and promised my husband that I would never return to that pack. I'm so sorry." She cried and sobbed loudly. "You selfish bastard." Now you believe her. Shar yelled at Caden, who was stunned with all the revelations, but Shar continued. "Do you know she stayed in our pack to find your chosen? She was the one who deciphered all the information to find Maya and her baby, all because she wanted to see you happy, even though you wanted her dead." More despedent Thalon. Caden fell on his knees. His head rested in his palms as he took in all the information. His mate helped him in finding his chosen with only a pure motive. He destroyed her dreams, beliefs, and mainly he destroyed her. He couldn't believe what he did in a fit of rage. Was he so madly engrossed in someone that he didn't see the light in front of him? Cole pulled Annie's mother up and looked towards his warriors. "We need to go to Alpha Ryan's pack to get Annie back." Her mother nodded and wiped her tears. Cole continued looking at others. "Whoever is coming with me, I want to tell you. It may come to war, but I'm going to bring Annie back, even it means death. I want her back in Alpha." He turned towards Caden and said with a motionless voice, "If you are not accepting her back in this pack, I would step down as your beta and go rogue with her if it comes to that." Alder hid. He was about to move when he was tackled to the ground by Caden himself as he growled loudly in Cole's face. "My mate," stated Wanda. Cole pushed him away with all his might and chuckled humorlessly. "You should have thought about it before you rejected her. It is no BB-end." Caden whimpered. The big, bad, ruthless Alpha whimpered at the statement. By now, everyone was outside piling into cars while others shifted into wolf forms. Cole started the car. Char and Annie's mother were with him and drove towards Alpha Ryan's territory, and that's when Caden's black SUV cut their path, driving in the front, leading them all like a true Alpha would. Cole smiled softly, knowing Caden had realized his mistake, but he was hoping that it wasn't late. Annie would be okay till they reached there, but he was so wrong. They pushed her in one of the prison. Everything was dark, but Annie could smell blood and dirt around. She was scared but was hoping that they would finish her swiftly, but how wrong she was. Alpha Ryan entered her cell and gave her a hateful look. Annie swallowed the lump that was formed in her throat as she gazed at her father, the one who loved her the most, protected her from everyone and stayed by her side. But now he was nothing but a monster. A tear rolled down her eye, but she wiped it. "Tie her," He yelled at the guards and they came inside and dragged her to the middle of the room. She struggled in their arms, but they were buff and stronger than her, and in next few minutes her hands were tied to the ropes. She looked at her father, who brought out a whip. Annie's heart accelerated as she shook her head. "Daddy." But he cut her off with first swipe. A scream escaped her lips as a searing pain went through her back. But it didn't stop him as he kept hitting her till her back wasn't covered with blood. After half an hour, he stopped and threw her on the ground again. Annie was numb. All she could think was what she did wrong to deserve such a punishment. But the torture didn't stop there, as another wave of burning pain hit her as she felt Wolf's bane on her wounds. Alpha Ryan had smug look when he saw Annie's suffering. She felt her wolf slowly slipping away and knew at least she was safe from all the pain. They left her alone for hours before they came back again, but this time it was worse. She saw her older brothers and sister with her cousins standing by the cell. Something went through her brother's mind, but he masked it with anger. Anger towards the girl who took away their mother, who ruined a family, who was a disgrace to their pack. Alpha Ryan entered with a glass in his hand. Annie could see that this was it. They were finally going to end her suffering. To kill her. To finally send her to a safe place where no one could hurt her again. She closed her eyes tightly, remembering all happy moments, but... "Annie, it's over. Just tell us, why did you kill Mom?" "Samuel?" her brother asked. Annie didn't say anything. She couldn't break her promise. She didn't want her mom to lose whatever she had gained in all those years. Alpha Ryan huffed and pushed everyone away. Stalking towards her, he grabbed her hair and made her look at him. "Listen here, bitch. And listen carefully. You killed my mate. My other half. I don't care if you're my daughter. I'm going to make sure you suffer and die slowly. You deserve more punishment than this, but I guess this silver will be enough to make you feel pain. On many sitter blonde forth." And he showed her the glass which had melted silver in it. Annie looked up at her father. How can he be so cruel? How can he hurt his daughter? "This is going to kill you slowly and painfully." Gwening down the telf. And not waiting for anyone, he put the cup to Annie's mouth and made her swallow the poisonous silver. Annie closed her eyes slowly. The pain was unbearable. The silver was attacking her whole body as if it was killing her from inside, exactly as they wanted. Slowly and painfully. Now all she could hope for was it would work faster and end her sufferings. She remembered her childhood when her mom-dad was together. They loved her so much. Her brothers were protective over her as she was the youngest child, while her sister adored her. She was shy but bubbly child. Her family was her everything, and she loved them so much. Every night before going to bed, her dad would tell her a story about a knight and his princess. Every story was different, but in the end, they always had their happily ever after. That's why she was so eager to meet her mate. When she saw Caden smiling down at his chosen, she imagined herself there, standing in front of her mate with their baby in her hands and her mate gazing at them with love. A small smile spread on her lips when she imagined how Cade's touch would feel. Was it how others said? Tingles and all. He would take her hand and kiss her forehead, telling her how much he loves her. Then maybe he would. But her happy bubble burst when she coughed up blood and started losing her vision. Everything was slowly getting blurred. She looked outside to find a guard looking at her with pity. Can you... G? Give me paper, and pen. Any once today. The guard debated with himself, but then nodded, fishing out paper and pen from somewhere. She started writing slowly. It was difficult, but she wanted Cole and Charlotte to know that she was happy with the end. She knew they would be heartbroken, but she had to write them, so she did. Caden was frustrated as he sped through Alpha Ryan's territory, not even waiting for his permission. Alpha Ryan looked confused when he stepped down from his car. Caden sniffed around to catch Annie's scent, but it wasn't there. Where was she? Where did they take her? All the questions were making him feel restless, and that's when Cole's car came to halt behind his. What's happening? Alpha Caden. Why are you here? Alpha Ryan demanded. Where is my mate? Caden asked, not beating around the bush. You mean ex? Rejected. Unwanted mate. Alpha Ryan smirked, but his smirk fell when his eyes fell on the woman who got down from the car. All Ryan family was outside by now, as they were stunned. Angela. Alpha Ryan breathed out, but then he rushed towards her and hugged her. Mom. Both of her sons and a daughter ran to her, hugging them. A family hug, but it was missing someone. Their youngest daughter, who was on the verge of death. Put there by her own family. Angela pulled away with a motionless face and asked, Where is my daughter? Gave a nated fried and inadent faith. That was all needed to make them all go ghostly pale. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. What's happening? Will you tell me everything? Alpha Ryan begged, but Cole cut him off. Where is Annie? We will tell you everything once we get her safe. Idwan is firsting. Guilt spread on Alpha Ryan's face as he looked at him before Samuel. Annie's older brother started running towards dungeons where they had kept Annie. Annie coughed blood again as she pushed the letter towards the guard, asking him to give it to Beta Cole. Guard merely nodded, but footsteps were heard, followed by a bang on the door as Samuel entered and looked at Annie. She closed her eyes. Why was he here? To taunt her and enjoy it. But he slid down on the ground beside her, pulling her closer on his lap. Anne, he cried. Annie couldn't believe it as she looked up at her big brother. Sam. No ceded to Datas to the side. More footsteps were heard as everyone piled inside the cell. She was lying on the ground, her head on Samuel's lap. And now he was covered in blood as well. No. 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 Shar covered her mouth as she turned around and hid her face in Cole's chest, who wanted to go hide in a corner and cry. What did you do to her? Angela yelled at Alpha Ryan, who couldn't believe what he did. Caden fell on his knees in front of her and slowly took her away from her brother. His wolf whimpered when he couldn't feel Annie's wolf. Annie felt few tingles and she looked up at her mate, who was crying. Alpha! And Caden pulled her closer to his chest, hugging her tighter, but another wave hit her as she coughed more blood. Hospital. I need to take her to hospital, Caden said to himself. He was about to stand up when she tugged on his shirt with the energy she had left. She slowly shook her head. It's time, she whispered as more tears fell down from her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was selfish. Forgive you, she said with a small smile on her lips. That's all she wanted. Someone by her side when she would take her last breath. Someone who would care enough to stay by her side, but right now she had her whole family standing there. Her father was numb as he looked at what he did to that innocent soul. Cole came and sat beside her. He held her hand in his as tears rolled down his eyes. I'm sorry I was late. I couldn't protect you. And like to be doisness. She reached up and gently wiped his eyes, giving him a smile. Eve, everything I brought is okay. Softaseti too is in every prosody to experience possible. She stayed there. In her mate's embrace, she could feel her senses were fading as her eyesight blurred. But she was happy. For the first time in all those years, she had everything she wanted. Charlotte and her mom hugged her, sobbing their hearts out. Her father couldn't even move from his side, but she forgave them all. It was all okay now. She just wanted to close her eyes, but there was one thing remaining. One tie was left to be broken as she looked ahead, but everything was dark by now. She couldn't feel anything except for Caden's touch, which was fading slowly, so she opened her mouth and whispered, I accept your Regia.commission. As now there work on them. Caden howled loudly as he shook his head. Don't do this to me. Please. I need you." He yelled and cried. But she was gone. The last thing on Annie's mind was Caden. He never smiled at her or showed any emotions, but she could imagine him smiling. He was here, that's all she wanted. And then she closed her eyes. Maybe they were not meant to be. Maybe she was supposed to stay alone, and then he felt the agonizing pain of losing his mate. 1 month later. Ryder walked in the living room with his little girl by his side. He looked up at Cole and asked, "How is my brother?" Cole shook his head. There were no emotions on his face, like he was dead on the inside. He had become ruthless and sometimes couldn't control his anger. "I'll call Uncle Cade." Ryder's 3-year-old daughter jumped and ran upstairs towards Cade's room. Ryder put his hand on Cole's shoulder. "You okay?" No," Cole said in a clipped voice and walked outside of the door. He walked to the place where he first met Annie. He sat down and pulled out the letter that Annie left him. He and Charlotte were the only lucky ones who got to have something that belonged to her. He opened it again and tears rolled down his eyes. "Cole, I'm sorry that I couldn't say goodbye to you. I wanted to see you for the last time, but feels like Moon Goddess hate me. I know you will be really angry and heartbroken, but I want you to move on. You have a pure heart, and I hope you'll find your mate soon. Love her unconditionally. With all your heart. I know you will. You were my first friend who treated me as equal, cared for me, and loved me. It hurts, Cole, and that's why I want it to end. I don't want to live anymore. I've lost everything. Please don't hate me for this. Please. You are strong, kind, and you have a golden heart. I would see you when you will find your mate and be happy. Trust me. I would be really happy that time. You and Char deserve the best, so I want you both to move on and be happy. I'll always be there with you. And Cole, please take care of him. Don't leave his side. I love you both. Annie." And Caden had locked himself in the room since that day. He would not come out, nor did he talk to anyone. He closed himself off from everyone. He was lost. He understood what he had lost and was regretting it. Maya, with her child, was staying in the room across his. She could hear his sobs and howls when he would call for his mate. She was upset but couldn't help him with his situation. Ryder took over alpha position, knowing his brother was not capable of handling it without his mate. It didn't matter how much you loved someone else. Mate bond was stronger than anything, but he failed to recognize it. A month filled with pain and regret went slowly, like Moon Goddess was punishing him for his crime. She wanted him to feel all the pain that Annie endured over her lifetime. Caden was weaker now because his wolf was dead. He died with Annie. That morning, Caden didn't wake up. All the pain finally freed him as he took last breath. Caden's breathing stopped. Just like that. He passed away in his sleep due to the agonizing pain of losing his mate. It was all over. Maybe they were not meant to be for this life, but maybe they would be together in Moon Goddess's kingdom. Maybe. Just maybe. Annie would be finally happy. This was their story. Life was cruel and the pain was the key. They both finally escaped it. Not all the stories end on happy note, some of them are filled with pain, harsh reality, and lot of hurt. Not everyone get their happy endings. Maybe that's how it works. You accept it and then you move on. Just like that. There was no joy. No happiness. No smiles. Just death. It surrounded whole territory like a dark blanket. Everything was ruined. Truth was out. Ryan family was suffering the most. Their cruelty cost them a life of their loved one, or more specifically, someone who loved them dearly even after they ruined her. Annie's death brought a wave of depression. Everyone was burning in their own guilt. Everyone suffered because the secret that she was keeping was finally out, and as she feared, it hurt everyone. That's when everyone realized Annie endured all the pain because she didn't want anyone to feel the same or worse. Alpha Ryan was broken. He was disgusted with himself for the first week as he didn't meet or see anyone. Angela. His mate told them the truth, and he fell in the dark pit of depression. He killed his princess with his own hand for something she never did. In fact, she was the one who was trying to save him from going insane, but he killed her. Annie always loved her father, even after everything that happened. She forgave him in the end, but he couldn't take it and ran away from there. He couldn't see what he had done to his daughter. "Daddy," Annie called. Alpha turned towards her with a big smile on his face. "Yes, baby." "I get nightmare. Daddy. The monster scares me." She tightened the grip around her little bunny while looking at him with those beautiful orbs. Alpha Ryan's heart swelled and he scooped her up and placed her on his lap. "Daddy will hunt down the monster and protect you." "Okay," he stated softly. She gave him a small smile and asked, "Will you protect me, Daddy?" He kissed her forehead and answered, "Always, baby. Daddy will always protect you." After a week, he couldn't bear the pain of losing his mate and the guilt of killing his daughter as he went rogue. Nobody heard from him since, but after a few months all pack members felt the broken connection. Angela couldn't believe where her selfishness brought her. She blamed herself for Annie's death. She left the place for good and never returned to pack. Annie's older brother, Samuel, lost two things that night. His sister died, but she took something important with her: his mate's trust. Samuel found out that his mate was Charlotte, but she didn't even acknowledge him. She was overwhelmed with grief, and he was mourning over his sister. Char didn't reject him for what he did to his sister, nor did she look at him. Sam had no guts to go to her as he was stuck on Annie's death. His sister, the one who always had his back, who loved him even after he treated her poorly, was finally gone. "I love you, Sam." Her last words were haunting him for the longest time. Charlotte left the pack life and went to college. She couldn't deal with anyone. Even after Caden's death, she decided to stay away from everyone. A part of her was crying for her mate, but she didn't know what to feel. Her mate was one of them who hurt her best friend. One of the reasons for her pain. It took her 2 years to clear her mind and move on. That day when she came back to the pack, she was surprised to see her dad standing there. Genevieve couldn't help but hug her youngest daughter tightly. She was finding the essence of her twin in her. Caden's death was a big blow to everyone, but they endured it knowing maybe he was happy with his mate. "What's happening, Mom?" Char asked her. Eve didn't say anything, just looked inside the living room. Char's eyes followed, and she gasped to find her mate, Alpha Samuel Ryan, standing there with grief and love present in his eyes. She looked around. She saw Cole was standing in a corner and his mate was trying to pull him back to stop him from hurting the visiting Alpha. Char didn't know what she felt, but then decided to take Annie's advice and walk towards Samuel. Cole found his mate after 6 months of Annie's death. First few months were difficult, but their ship sailed. He loved her exactly how Annie wanted him to. And now his mate was pregnant with a baby girl. "You are strong, kind, and you have a golden heart. I would see you when you will find your mate and be happy. Trust me. I would be really happy that time." Maybe that's what Annie's saying. Cole was happy knowing Annie was coming back to him. A stupid belief, but a happy thought. Who cares what everyone else think? "Dad, I miss Uncle Cade. Can we go see him?" Ryder's Caden's big brother little girl asked him. He smiled at her and nodded. Soon they were in front of 2 graves. Annie and Caden's. "Where is he now, Daddy?" Lizzie asked him. "With his mate." Ryder smiled at her. "Are they happy?" "I'm sure they are really happy." "Then I'm happy too." She smiled widely, putting a small kiss on both graves. Lizzie pulled away. "I miss you, Uncle Cade and Aunt Annie. But Daddy said you both are happy. Stay happy." I love you.